All right, so my name is Prasanna Malaiyandi. I'm a director of product architecture here at Druva. And I know we've talked a lot about backup and restore and what we provide as Druva. One of the things I wanted to cover is there's a lot of focus right now for customers who want to do more than just backup. I know we've talked about automation anywhere. I know that, Scott, you were talking about that. Should I use AA places and things like that before this meeting? The big thing customers are asking for is help me automate and help me simplify and get more value out of my data, as well as the processes. I don't want to have to go through a UI every single time and click a button whenever there's a failover, whenever there's an issue, and understand what's going on. So help me understand and simplify my management aspects. And of course, there's more than just dealing with backups and the failure. So as we looked at use cases beyond backup, we looked at 5 major use cases. One was around IT service management. ServiceNow, as everyone knows, is very popular for automating a lot of the workflows that you had to file trouble tickets before and manually track them. ServiceNow automates a lot of this. And a lot of customers are looking for, hey, when my backup fails, why do I have to manually open a trouble ticket? Why is someone getting on the phone and yelling at me? Shouldn't I automatically file a service ticket and start tracking it through the system? The other thing that they also ask is around identity and access management. Sure, I can integrate with an AD and LDAP, but I might be using Okta for SSO and for dealing with all my cloud applications and other SaaS applications in my environment. How do I deal with that, and do you guys integrate with that? Because I don't want to use AD or something else like that. In terms of security, there are events that occur in a backup environment that can also lead to other security analytics and information. For instance, do I have someone trying to log in and access as an admin into my system? Do I have restore operations happening outside of my region where I expect data to happen or restores to happen? Do I have data being restored to another country which is not expected in my environment? So these sort of use cases, we're getting customers coming to us and asking, can you help me understand who's restoring my data, where is it going to, so I can flag it if maybe there's a threat going on in my environment. E-discovery, I think Curtis had talked about that before, but we do have customers saying, help me understand what data I have. If the legal team comes to me and says, I'm investigating this user's data, what they had access to, emails, data, etc., can you make sure that the backups aren't gone? Can you help me also export that data so I can now throw it through my own legal analytics tools to figure out what data is there? If I need to reply to some e-discovery case or a discovery case, I have the data I need. And finally, just analytics, right? Analytics is a hot buzzword these days, but people want to understand what's going on in their environment. How can I get more insights into what's going on? How is my data growing? What about my backup? Are they failing? Is it successful? This sort of information is what customers are asking for. And as you can see, it's not just...
I have a question,
yes,
if it's okay. I'm wondering about the e-discovery. Can it be used for GDPR or to delete data, search in data? Or?
So, Curtis? Yeah. Throw him on the spot because he's big on GDPR.
So, to my knowledge, this is a really long topic that maybe we should do the podcast on. So there are some limited cases where we can go in and we can say, based on this information, delete data from this user, right? But what no backup product that I'm aware of can do is to go in and delete data within a record, for example, inside a database, which is what I think GDPR is going after. So we can't do that yet either. But we can go in and we can say, for example, search for files with this particular pattern and delete those files, both from production and from the backup. So it's a limited use case, but...
But can you search metadata?
We can search metadata, yes. The question is whether or not we can delete things within things. That's the problematic part. Okay. So if, let's say, you discovered that you've got a spreadsheet that has a given, marketing target person's contact in one row of a spreadsheet, like we can't, our only choice would be to delete the spreadsheet, not delete a row within a spreadsheet. Does that make sense?
Maybe.
Like nobody else can do that either, but it's a problem with the backup industry, but let's you and I will talk more.
Yeah,
it's a real challenge. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we did have a customer that had a case. They had an office in the UK, and it was an interview process, and the end person exercises GDPR rights to get rid of my resume. Within our system, they were able to search for that that resume,
That's
find who
really
had it,
important. Yeah.
delete it from the source, and delete it from the backup copy. So nothing's going to make them GDPR compliant, but hey, best practice was made using the systems that were in place.
Okay, thanks.
Cool.
Better.
So if you look at all these use cases, it's less about the backup and restore, but really driving agility in the IT infrastructure. As new use cases come up, as I need to do more things with my data, right, being able to quickly respond, as well as reduce the cost and the risk in the environment. Like Curtis said, if I have a GDPR-like situation that comes up, how can I quickly identify that and let the right people see where the data is and quickly identify and delete that? Now, you have a whole spectrum of users, right? You have sort of your basic users who are smaller shops who more likely than not want something that's pre-built and integrated. So they may not have full development teams who can go say, hey, here are some open APIs, go code to it. Good luck, I want to build my own app. They just want something that works right off the shelf that they can just pick up, start using, and it solves their needs, right? If I had ServiceNow or if I had Xtero is another e-discovery application. These are all sort of off the shelf that just works. And then on the other end, you have your experts, right? These are your organizations who have dedicated developer teams who love to take all these pieces and look at the APIs, figure out how can I optimize my workflow by leveraging this tool or this tool, stitch them all together and build some value add service on top for their business. And it's all about optimizing the efficiency for those companies, right? So I might take data from this tool and data from that tool, bring it together, be able to do some analytics, and then send it off to this third tool. And so we see a large spectrum, and we're looking to see how can we solve and provide value for these users. And just as an integration, or as an example, so I mentioned Xtero. Xtero is an e-discovery application that some of our customers use. It allows the legal admin team to go and not only place legal holds on backup, so ensure that backup isn't deleted, but also to use the WebDAV protocol to actually pull the data from Druva's cloud into their application so they can now run their discovery process. Customers love it. We have it integrated, and this is one of the pre-built integrations that we talk about. On the right-hand side, this is more of an expert use case. This is from an actual customer. Everything's been redacted, so there isn't really any personally identifiable information. But this is a customer who looked at the Druva APIs and said, okay, I can use your reporting APIs, your legal hold APIs, and build a custom interface for my use case for what I need to do. So now, as end users, I can go to a web portal, and I can place a user on legal hold. I can see what legal holds are active on a user and what the status is, who the person's manager is, contact information, other information, all by leveraging Druva APIs. And kind of as we think about it, there are three different types of customers or users at the top. There are those customers, like I mentioned, on the right-hand side who have in-house development teams. There are technology partners like Xtero and other folks who want to integrate to bring value to their customers. And finally, you have the actual developers, right? You have your independent developers, your consulting companies who want to add value by integrating various companies' APIs together to build a value-added solution. But what do all these people need? They need a developer platform, a platform provided by Druva that allows them to understand what's available, how can I access the APIs, how do I actually use them? They don't just want, hey, here's a set of APIs, go at it. Right? They want to understand what's the best way to use this? What are some of the performance issues? Do you have any sample code snippets about how I can leverage these APIs to solve my use cases? How are people, for instance, pulling data out of Druva, events APIs, for instance, pushing it into Splunk, and now being able to do their analysis? So we want to get to the spot. We aren't fully there yet. We want to get to the spot where we can provide the information around here are code snippets, here are blog entries about how people are using things, and really build a full developer portal. We understand how important APIs are today, so we want to get there, and we see other people going there as well. Now let's talk about some of the pre-built apps and integrations. Some of this is actual integrations with third parties like the Xtero. Others are integrations that customers have done today on their own, taking our APIs to automate some of their flows. For instance, we have some large customers who take events APIs driven through Druva, suck it into their interfaces or read it out of Druva and then actually push it into ServiceNow. So if I have failed backups, they understand that coming out of Druva, they automatically submit service tickets in ServiceNow, so they can now automatically start tracking and dealing with the issues. They don't have to log into the UI and have to manually see what failed. I've talked to many backup admins, and they always say, first thing I wake up in the morning, I come into the office, I log into the backup UI interface, and I look at everything that failed. Right? And they spend a bunch of their time just troubleshooting it. In this way, you can now automate a lot of that. So they don't have to log into that interface. Everything is automatically opened, and you can start tracking and build your own automation around the ServiceNow aspects. From the single sign-on piece, a while ago, we released an Okta integration leveraging our APIs. We now actually have an Okta app to even simplify it further. So now you can go download an Okta app. Druva shows up in the Okta marketplace. So now you can easily add all your users into Druva from your existing Okta interface. Security, we talked about Splunk. E-discovery, we talked about Xtero. And then business analytics. We have a lot of customers who take the data coming from Druva via reporting interfaces, dump it into Looker, dump it into Tableau to understand how is their data growing, is their data landing in the right regions, what is their consumption looking like, when are they going to run out of space, other things like that to help them plan, forecast, understand what's going on, are they running things efficiently. All of these are built on top of APIs that we already have today. And finally, we need to make sure people have the right APIs and the right documentation. So we do have a developer portal. Feel free to hit https developer.druva.com. And there you can actually see where we have all the APIs listed. It is a short list today, but we are constantly adding new APIs. In the next 6 to 12 months, there will be many, many, many more APIs on this page for people who want to now start to look and see, okay, what is available? How can I start programmatically accessing the data that is within Druva and be able to build additional value on top?